and we're going to react to some TikToks, guys. We're going to look at some archaeology and history TikToks, and I'm going to see whether or not they're good, or if there's anything funny that I can say about them, or any of those things. Oh, the donuts. I forgot. I have to talk about the donut. So this is the brunch stream, and on the brunch stream we eat, right? So today I wanted to keep it very simple. I'm going with the classic. I know I usually get fancy ones. You know, I'll get maple bacon or whatever. Today, I just got a Boston cream. They got horribly smushed in the bag, so it looks like trash. But yeah, it's a classic Boston cream donut. Cross section. Wait. Too washed out from the ring light. That's the good stuff. Boston cream is one of my favorite donuts. Of course, it's poggers. It comes from the Amish market. And anyone who's been on the channel for a while knows that the Amish market makes the most dank, awesome donuts that we've had in a while. I'm really excited. This is kind of like my first go at reaction stuff. This is a huge element of Twitch, just people having reactions to other things. So today we are going to react to the Viking hashtag on TikTok. So this is the top ever post about Vikings. Let's see what these ladies have to say about this. That's sick. Description says Norway, so this looks like a Viking, yeah. Hell yeah. Okay, so I know exactly what these things are. In Scandinavia in particular, they have a whole lot of places that are like Viking age reconstructed sites, you know? They're like reconstructed villages, reconstructed cities. And they're like a great tourist attraction. They're also really great from an archaeological standpoint because it lets you look at these historical recreations to get a better idea of what Vikings were like. Okay, so back here, this house here, let's see if there's another one that has it even better. They have turf roofs. I think there was one right at the beginning. Yeah, behind her you can see there's turf on top of the roofs themselves. And when they had the grass and everything like that on top of them, it was meant to really help stabilize the structure and make it weatherproof. You know, a lot of times it was better than like wood and shingling and everything. This is one of my biggest grievances with Valheim. Hopefully they'll be able to add in turf roofs because turf ceilings were such a typical, like they were such a strong Scandinavian thing that they did that I really want to be able to build turf roofs, especially because a lot of longhouses were built half into the ground and they had the turf roof just kind of come over the top. It was almost like a little den, a little hobbit hole.
Sword. Yeah. First thing I gotta do, shape the wood.
So this is a guy who does basically, I don't know if he does it from an archaeological.
All right, for the blades, got a bunch of split leg bone.
So I don't know if he does it from an archaeological standpoint, but one thing that I noticed, this was, like I said, this was the first guy who I followed on TikTok, actually. And he does basically like survivor builds where he's like, oh, say you have absolutely nothing from the modern age with you, how would you make this? And people are like, oh, make a spoon, make a bowl, or you know, they have like an assortment of things that they ask him to make. So I guess he's making a Viking sword right now.
Now I gotta drill some holes.
So he's got a simple drill here. If you look really closely, you could see it looks like there might be a flint tip to it. So he's got a piece of sharpened flint, like a projectile point, a piece of stone that's fastened to the tip of that wooden handle. When he rubs it like that, it does like, you know, the spinning motion, it kind of creates these holes. And that was a drill bit. Drill bits are like very round pieces of flint.
Good. Start putting it together. So what I'm going to use to put it all together is something called cat cordage, but it's the intestines of an elk.
Okay, cat cordage. Like he said, it's using animal materials to make twine or string that you would use to fasten different parts of your tool together.
I just got to put a tip on the top. Now I got to cut a groove. All right, let's get it glued up. All right, that's it. One sword.
Okay, that's pretty cool. I mean, there are plenty of cultures that got away with spiked clubs, bladed clubs. I mean, the Aztecs and the Incas, they would take micro flakes of obsidian and other stone, like, you know, small pieces that were like maybe anywhere from this big to this big, and they would just take a sword and they would just shove them into the sides going up. And when they did that, they were still able to do some serious damage. Like, don't get me wrong, that sword that he made would definitely, you could kill a guy with it for sure, especially with that tip if you get a good thrust. I'm gonna mute that one because DMCA. That's the theme to Vikings. Hell yeah. Hell yeah, brother. So this is another one of those places that looks like, this is another one of those like historical reconstruction type places. It's very common in Scandinavia to do like Viking style ship sailings, and they actually did one recently where they took a ship and they sailed it across the Atlantic following an old like Viking route and sailing from Scandinavia to New York City. I also love this guy's gear. I love this guy's gear. I want to get a good look at that axe again. Let me see if I can get the axe. Boink. Okay, so it's definitely a very stylized axe. It's got this big kind of interlace design across the hilt, which is great. I actually just talked about one of these recently, and I'm going to pull this up. There's something called the Mammen axe. It was found in a gravesite in Mammen, Denmark, hence the name. And here we go. Here's a picture of the head. I actually did a TikTok where I mentioned this axe specifically. Oh, it's Danish. I can't, oh god, this is so bad. I mean, yeah, do I want the cookies or do I'm gonna deny the cookies. I want no cookies. I've got donuts. But so this is the Mammen style axe, and you see, if you look at what you've got going on here, there's a beast figure. So there's an eye, and as it entwines back, this is the body, and like the hips kind of come through there. It's like it's a grinding or a gripping or a winding or a gripping beast. And these motifs are very common. This actually was definitive for the Mammen art style. And so the Mammen style kind of was derived from this, and it involves a lot of these kind of intertwining animal motifs. A lot of little dots, circles. It's very spirally and circly. Beautiful piece. And yeah, this guy back here has an axe that looks very similar to that, I think. Music again, TOS. Holy crap. Look at that. Jeez, Minecraft is incredible. The things that people can do in Minecraft are absolutely insane. I'm definitely gonna get back into Minecraft. There's the caves. When the Caves and Cliffs update drops, there's an archaeology element of it. They're going to add in archaeology as like a thing you can do. They're going to give you like a little brush to brush off artifacts and stuff. There's no way I'm not doing a Minecraft run as an archaeologist when that drops. That's got to happen. Okay, let's have sound. This should be fine. I don't think this is DMCA'd. I like that. This is like a step-by-step of Viking wear. The brooches! The brooches! That's an awesome outfit. Okay, my only complaint, the Vegvisir on the gloves. Other than that, I mean, like, looking at the layers, those all look pretty accurate. The brooches, I can't really get a good zoom. I can't see what the clasp in the middle looks like, but it looks similar in style and form to what you'd expect. The big kicker, though, is going to be, that's great, but the two big ones there, yeah, those are pretty true to form. We have a buddy who, when I was doing my master's, he did his entire master's on Viking Age brooches. Clasps like that, and they, yeah, they're pretty great. But yeah, the Vegvisir symbol, we've talked about this, is not culturally Viking Age, I should say. That came later in like the 1800s. All right, let's see what this dude does. He looks legit. I think these are the same dudes that we were just talking about who had the sick axe. I mean, the outfits are sick. There's no way that a bunch of Norsemen, like literal real life people from Norway, there's no way that they're going to be out there and having anything less than historically accurate clothing. Yeah, I mean the stitching again, the layers. I'd love to get myself like a full real set of that. My stuff here is like thrown together. This is just random crap. It's like a $30 shirt off Amazon. The cloak is an old LARP piece, handmade by my mother when I was in college. Hey, it's Jake the Viking, fellow Twitch streamer.
Later, still haven't heard from him.
Former Mr. Beast fan.
Pudding. Where you at, dude?
He had better aim than I did in my axe throwing TikTok.
The Viking axe was one
This
of
one's
the
gonna be
most
hard to hear.
commonly known weapons.
It might be,
from the Viking
yeah, it might be a
Age.
little tough to
They were
hear.
more expensive to make than typical weapons, so often they were only wielded by more wealthy warriors.
And to clarify this point, because I got a lot of hate for this, and that, well, I didn't get a lot of hate. I got a little bit of hate. It was, I'm talking about battle axes, like crafted war axes. A lot of people took their regular wood axe. A lot of people took their regular wood axe, like a tool axe, and they used it in war. Like everybody just brought it along because it was a great weapon. But if you're talking about actual crafted, like battle axes, war axes, yada yada, those were more expensive. And like the ones like that guy had with the intricate interlace and everything, those were more expensive and more restricted.
Versatility in melee combat and their use as a tool. And
This was last
frequently
weekend.
they were used as
I did this,
artistic
actually.
pieces, such as with the Mammon axe, which used the Mammon style art to carve along the blade of the axe itself. As far as its versatility,
All right,
in
come on,
combat,
let's see.
well,
So here's my aim. I still suck the hit, and I still got I technically hit inner ring. I was actually really happy that I stuck that because obviously we're in like an axe throwing bar place and everything, and if I missed, I was gonna have to awkwardly like redo the TikTok again and be like, hey, sorry everybody for making you listen to me talk about this stuff. Next up on the history, we found a unicorn. I'm about to get tilted. I had to mute that again because DMCA. I'm about to get tilted, guys. Okay, so I've seen this before. We've got a horse skull here, right? Oh my gosh, yeah, nothing wrong there. It's a perfectly normal horse skull just sitting in... What? What the heck? What? I just happened to be filming when this horn comes out of nowhere. What? In my trench that is just a hole in the ground? There's no trench walls. There's no markings or stratifications or striations to indicate how deep it is. There's an arrow through the eye socket. 60,000 years old because there was an arrow in it? What? No. Guys, this is baloney. You can literally buy, look at this off Amazon for 35 bucks. You've got a unicorn skull. Wait for it. It's gonna be the same thing. But I mean, like, you can get one of these super simple. It's not hard to make a cast, guys. I mean, the thing that really gives this away is the fact that the excavation is in no way anything that an actual archaeologist or paleontologist would be doing. You don't just go out and just like dig a hole in the ground. All the dirt around it is loose and crumbling. There's no striations. When you have an archaeological trench that you're digging up, right? It's going to have very specific striations. So here's a trench, just as an example of an archaeological trench. You can see very sharp lines, sharp edges, and when you scroll in, it's very compact. That was just a loose hodgepodge of dirt. It was just somebody went out into the desert and dug a hole and shoved a fake skull in there too. Let's jump over to archaeology. I'm going to acknowledge that yes, I am one of the top posts in the archaeology hashtag. That's not a flex. I'm not trying to flex on you guys by looking at the archaeology hashtag and being like, oh look, I'm number 2. But that said, number 2, baby, ain't bad. Number 2 archaeology TikTok on all of TikTok ain't bad. We'll look at the number 1. We'll look at the one thing that beat me out. Oh god. Okay. I think that'll be fine. I think I'll be okay. So this is actually kind of sad. So it's basically a situation of a family where it was a husband, wife, and child, and they found their skeleton preserved as they died during an incident. And this person just did a historical drawing of them, which is really awesome. I think they did another one too. I think they are also number 3. Oh, and this one's awesome. This one's great because they actually this is evidence of, you know, having to look at form and everything. So they had two figures who were passed away holding hands, and it was always this kind of idea of it was a husband and wife together. But when they did analysis, they discovered that both of the skeletons were males. So you can usually tell that predominantly based on the hip shape. So the hip shape and size is going to tell you whether or not a skeleton is a male or female. That's just the easiest way to do it. If you have a hip, if you have like an intact pelvis, right? If you have an intact pelvis, you can determine if the skeleton is a male or female. It's easy to do because the size and shape of a female pelvis, even before becoming pregnant, is different than a male's because it's built specifically to have like a 4-pound watermelon shoved through it. It's just biologically built different. So the people came through here, and naturally the assumption was, oh, well, it's a husband and wife. And then they went through and they looked, and they're like, well, it's two males. The hand-holding was done intentionally with the crossed arms and everything. And originally the idea was that they thought that they were buried looking at each other. But then over the course of time, with like flooding and erosion and everything, the guy on the left, his head was turned away. So let's see what this is.
You to Anfim, the 7-year-old boy whose homework and drawings have survived for 700 years. Around the year 1260, in medieval Novgorod, Russia, a little boy named Anfim was completing homework assignments and doodling, as 7-year-olds do.
Okay.
But what Anfim didn't know is that his works would be found intact 700 years later for the world to see. All of Anfim's work was engraved on soft birch bark, which was remarkably preserved in the clay soil of Russia.
I love this, mainly because he's about as good at drawing as I am. But this is awesome.
Anfim's work includes, but is not limited to, the following: spelling exercises in his language, Old Slavonic, doodles of himself as a knight trampling his enemies, a doodle of himself as a mythical animal captioned "I am a wild beast," scenes of quarrels between him and his teacher, and a picture of little Anfim with his friends.
Yo!
I just hope Anfim lived a good life because he seemed like a cool kid.
Guys, this is sick. So one thing that shows up in archaeology all the time, or like one of the things that happens as an archaeologist that I hear about, people will always come up to you and they'll say, well, how were people able to build this back then? They didn't have any of the technology. Like, how were they able to do that? They were exactly us. We have the same brains. They were able to conceive of things in the same way we do. They could build things, they could do things, they could come up with ideas because they're freaking smart. We're the smartest things on the planet. No cap. Maybe. In theory, we are the smartest things on the planet. And we haven't changed like evolutionarily, biologically in a while. Not to such an extent that we would be that different. But looking at this 700 years ago, and the kid's drawing doodles that I absolutely drew when I was a kid too. But that's awesome.
Let us know what you think of the little guy in the comments, and don't forget to follow us at Archaeonauts for more videos like this one.
Archaeonauts?
Allow me to
I don't know what they do, but Archaeonaut was a joking term that I hashtagged one time on Twitter when I asked NASA if they wanted to hire me to go into space. Big skull in the water. That's a horse. Looks like some kind of horse, maybe. Yeah, I mean, everyone in the comment is like, yeah, it's a horse skull. And I'm like, yeah, I saw that too. It looks like a horse or some kind of cervid. Cervid? Cervid? Am I saying that right? I think that's close. I mean, horses are not in the deer family, I know. I meant like hoofed. Cervidae. Things that are hoofed. Elk are in there also. So it looks definitely like one of those types. Loud. But everyone in the comment is like, to everyone saying it's a horse skull, you're wrong. Horses don't live underwater. Duh.
Well, here's something else that everybody wanted me to debunk, so I might as well. Before a bunch of you get on my case about, oh, nobody tagged you in this. Page 1, page 2, page 3, 18 tags, and I took those screenshots about 4 hours ago.
Did I see this one and
but that's not why we're here. We're talking about unicorns. First off, the dirt, it's far too loose. I mean, far too loose for it to be 60,000 years old. Judging by the size of his skull and the size of the guy's hand and the outline, the cavity that skull was found in seems to be cut pretty close to what the skull is shaped like. Also, it would be incredibly fragile, so you couldn't just pull it out of the ground like that. I mean, it might be convincing if you had no idea how dirt worked, or that there's 1,920 different 3D models for unicorn skulls. This model's pretty close, and it's only $45. Disturbed dirt, though. Layers. It needs to be layers.
Yes.
Well, here's something else.
Layers. This guy's good, too. Good for him. That's the same thing that we were just talking about, the unicorn hull. All right, here we go.
In 2013, two cavers exploring the Rising Star cave system in South Africa discovered something that would change the course of human history.
Africa, and particularly South Africa, have a whole lot of stuff in terms of early human interaction. Yeah, South Africa in particular, yeah, there's a ton of caves. For Homo erectus, Homo habilis, all of the early species of hominids that would eventually become anatomically modern humans, or Homo sapiens sapien. Homo sapiens followed by us, Homo sapiens sapiens. Some people like to differentiate.
Maneuvering through the tight chambers, they discovered a 7-inch wide passage known as the Dinaledi Chamber. What they would uncover would stagger scientists from all around the world. An unbelievable sight unfolded before their eyes, human bones scattered all over the ground. The cavers quickly contacted scientists who organized an expedition to extract the treasures found with.
So I think I've heard about this cave, and I think, and actually, yeah, I do remember actually seeing this layout specifically. So 2013 was literally right when I was going to college. Or right when I was graduating college. Graduating? When did I go to college? What year is it? How old am I? So this is like it was called like a death cave. It was basically a hole in the top, and all of these humans, or all of these hominids and other animals from that time period, 4 to 7 million years ago, were walking over this hole, and when they did, they would fall in by accident. They'd crash and not be able to survive down there because their legs or something would break. They wouldn't be able to get out. And then they'd all just kind of starve in place. So it was just a cave that was filled with bones.
Within this cave, the new species was named Homo naledi.
Homo naledi, that's right. Blue Eyes White Dragon is getting ready to get up, and he's been asleep for about an hour, which is pretty standard. Sometimes he sleeps a little later. One thing I will talk about, though, before I go, in terms of Homo naledi compared to other types of... And like I said, there's Homo sapien and then Homo sapiens sapiens. This is kind of a theory that goes around in archaeology between splitters and lumpers. And you have the two camps. You have splitters and lumpers. And so splitters are people who believe that a lot of species that are similar are still different enough that warrant different classifications, right? So Homo habilis versus Homo erectus. There are splitters who say that all of these different things are different species and need to be separated. And then there's lumpers who are like, look, they're all the same thing. They're all just like this guy just happened to be a lot shorter than this other guy. Just because you found one dude who's heckin' shorter than the other guy doesn't mean that they're two different species. It's still Homo erectus. It's just a shorter Homo erectus. You don't need to call him something else, right? So those are the two camps. You have the people who say that you need to split up all of the different skeletons to differentiate who you're talking about, what you're talking about. But then at a certain point, you're just like, are they actually different species of human or other type of animal? Or are they literally just like, we don't do that with animals. If I showed you a Chihuahua skeleton and a Great Dane skeleton, and I told you these are biologically the same species of animal, you would look at me like I'm out of my damn mind, right? And that's the support that there is for lumping skeletons. The problem, though, is that there are enough formative differences. And the question really becomes, like, is it important that they are all labeled together? Or is it important that we have the differentiation between the different types to kind of denote, well, even if they are the same species, but they're from different regions within Africa, are these early hominids, can we notice differences on that scale? And we certainly can, because we have found multiple instances of things like multiple Homo habilis, and even though that's different than Homo erectus, we know we have found multiple Homo erectus, and we're able to classify and group these together with multiple examples. One-offs, in the case of, this guy, although it sounds like they found multiple skeletons in here that would maybe classify this as being a different species. Was it really a different species than Homo erectus or Homo habilis? The other thing is, when we're dealing on scales that are so dramatically different, back then, like, I gave a range right now of like, oh yeah, early hominids from like, 4 to 7 million years ago. And you're like, wait a minute. Wait a minute, that scale is tremendous. The scale, the thing is, evolution is a slow process. Oh, here we go. Facial reconstruction of a Peruvian
The facial
queen.
reconstruction of an ancient Peruvian queen. In 2012, a group of researchers uncovered a burial site on the coast of Peru, and they were in for a huge surprise. They found a 1,200-year-old tomb with 58 female aristocrats, 4 of which were queens and potentially princesses. They noticed that one of the queens was buried very specially, with jewelry and items made of gold surrounding her. So in 2017, Swedish archaeologist and sculptor Oscar Nilsson took on the job of reconstructing her face.
I think I've heard the name Oscar Nilsson.
It took 220 hours and was done by hand, and he even used the hair of elderly Andean women from the region to help the reconstruction. After all of his hard work, this is—
That's a model! Kick ass, dude. Historical reconstructions, like facial reconstructions and stuff like that, are so dope. So dope. The things that you can learn from doing stuff like that.
This is the final result. It was believed that she died around the age of 60 and spent most of her life as a weaver and craftswoman.
Hey, yeah, so I can totally talk about that, because I'm an anthropologist that studies the relationship between humans and dogs.
First of all, I'm Jelly. That's an awesome subject area.
But where should I start? Maybe I should start with how wolves became dogs. No, it's too far back.
No, that's far enough.
Or maybe I could talk about how our relationship is honestly the most metal thing on the planet. Or maybe how they serve as sentinels and hunting partners, and also just companions.
Hell yeah.
Or maybe how they were the first domestic animal. Before goats, before horses, before cows, before guinea pigs, before llamas, we had dogs.
I'm inclined to believe him. Obviously, because this is literally his subject area. I was under the impression that we were domesticating other things first. Maybe not domesticating in the same sense as, like, what he might be talking about, which is evolutionarily influencing them, right? So when you domesticate a creature, you're basically changing its evolution on a rapid scale. You're taking gray wolves and you are turning them into compliant dogs, right? Tame animals. Which we, as he said, we definitely did with other animals, you know, things that eventually would become like chickens, cows, all the other domestic stuff that we have nowadays. And they behave differently, and they are different. You can see it in their behavioral patterns and in their and a lot of times their structure. Obviously, the example I said before with Great Danes and Chihuahuas, both completely different than gray wolves. So you can see how the difference in evolution happens. But I was under the impression that we had started domesticating things other than dogs earlier, but I could be mistaken.
In the Ice Age, and they helped us hunt mammoths. Or sadly, as I study, that dogs are such an integral part of human culture that as far back as 14,000 years ago, we start burying them, just like we do humans. That's significant. We love dogs. I mean, I know I do. So if you're interested in that, or just want to see more of my puppy, his name's Strider.
Oh, yo!
He's honestly the most beautiful creature to walk the earth.
Oh, look at him!
You are. My whole Instagram is dedicated to this, but you can check my website for the details and just give a follow here for more.
What a beautiful pupper. Here's another dog. Rating ancient dog graves based on how much they made me cry. I also have to turn off the music to DMCA. What a concept. I'm here for it. The tomb of the dog Stephanos, who perished, whom Rhodope shed tears for and buried like a human. 800 out of 10. So that quote was probably a grave note that was put on there. Who would you... Maya never barked without reason, but now he is silent. Oh, that's sad. That's sad. Funerary messages are incredible. I'm in tears while carrying you to your last resting place as much as I rejoiced when bringing you home in my own hands 15 years ago. Ugh, that's rough. Yeah, hugs, sages, all that stuff in chat, guys. This is intense. I didn't know this was gonna be so sad. I mean, I did once she said yada yada. Oh, hey, this is Goblin Bums again. This is the person who does the historical drawing recreations. All of her drawings, all of her stuff is so sad. She's like, yeah, these people died in each other's arms, and the Romans left them there to rot. You who pass on this path, if you happen to see this monument, laugh not, I pray, though it is a dog's grave. Tears fell for me, and the dust was heaped above me by a master's hand. Please don't laugh because it's just a dog. He's very beautiful, mate. That's hard. Imagine finding a dog grave and laughing. What kind of a monster are you? So, Patricus, never again shall you give me 1,000 kisses. Never can you be contentedly in my lap. In sadness have I buried you, as you deserve. That's Spain without the S. Looking at the thing at the bottom, it said original arte romano. A lot of those were Roman in terms of their style, and considering the form and the language used, I'm inclined to believe that the majority of those were Roman or at least Mediterranean burials. All right, let's see what she thinks. Badass revolutionary, probably really buff. Yeah, true. Nefertiti. Deserve better than Akhenaten? Okay. Akhenaten is one of my favorite pharaohs. Is one of my favorite Egyptian pharaohs. Akhenaten, I've talked about him on stream multiple times, and I'm actually going to talk about this right now because this is probably one of the... I don't know if anyone watching right now is aware that one of the most historically significant archaeological finds has been made in Egypt since King Tut's tomb. There has been a discovery in Egypt known as the Golden City of Luxor. And the Golden City of Luxor was meant to be a new capital for Egypt. And it was discovered literally at the very end of last year. And they're working on it. And I'm going to talk about this in just a second, but I got to talk about Akhenaten for a second, give some context. So the background on Akhenaten is that he was an Egyptian pharaoh who was the first one to basically take Egypt. What happened was, well, now based on the finds in the city, they're thinking actually his father may have laid some of the groundwork. But the whole thing that got him famous was that he decided, instead of the polytheistic, that is multiple god culture that Egypt had with Amun-Ra and Horus and Isis and yada yada, he said, look, all of them are not, there's actually only one god. It's a sun god, and his name is Aten. Which Aten was a name that was attributed with Ra, who was more commonly Amun-Ra, or just Amun, or Aten was one of the names that he had. And he said, look, we've been doing it wrong. It's actually just been Aten alone this entire time. So he started to do all of these monotheistic things. He basically said, all right, everybody, we're monotheists now. We're all praying to Aten. He built this city so that it could be a city for Aten, near Luxor. And he moved the capital of Egypt and everything. And he started doing his whole thing. The entire priest caste of Egypt rose up against him in some kind of crazy revolution. This city, as far as we can tell, literally one day someone came in and said, everyone drop what you're doing and get out now. The priests are coming to kill us. And I think that's the theory right now. I could be wrong on that. Don't take my word for it. But the fact is, the city was abandoned in place. Like, they literally found, cooked and burned food in fireplaces, because people left the food in the fire and got out. Akhenaten gets deposed, probably killed, and his name and cartouche is struck from the entirety of Egypt. They go through and they start trying to chisel his face off of all the statues. They chisel his cartouche off of all the walls. They try and erase him from history. And as we all know, if there's one thing you want to do to make sure that somebody's remembered for the rest of eternity, it's try and erase them from history. So we now remember Akhenaten, and he's one of my favorite pharaohs because it's just because it's such a crazy story. Yeah, he was just known as the heretic son of Amenhotep III. Akhenaten was Amenhotep IV. Oh, come on, I've done this. I've already registered with National Geographic. Here we go. BBC isn't going to do me dirty like that. Just incredible preservation. The walls, the city, everything that's going through right now. The finds that are coming out of it. They're finding skeletons. That's Tutankhamun's. But yeah, I mean, they're finding scarab amulets. They're finding pots, vessels with Egyptian writing on it, cuneiform, if I'm not mistaken. I don't want to speak without knowing exactly what I'm talking about. Okay, yeah, that might be. There's two forms of writing. There's hieroglyphics, and then there's cuneiform, which is kind of like a cursive form. It's kind of more of like a standard script. And that's kind of what this was. It was it had some hieroglyphic style things. Yeah, it's got actual writing on it. It's insane. It's insane. The stuff that they're finding out of that city are going to this is going to be 10 years, and they're going to get halfway through the site. It's like just the sheer amount of information is going to be fascinating. Sappho. Everybody knows Sappho. Ching-Chi, the pirate lord. The Pirate Queen, we talked about her. We talked about her last week on our Sea of Thieves night that ended up just becoming like Boozy Bumbo and pirate rankings. The YouTube video for that is up right now. By the way, let me take this moment. Hey YouTube, if you're watching right now and you're going, hey, this is pretty PogChamp, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. We're slowly trying to grow our channel, trying to build more content, trying to put up more videos, and every little bit helps. So if you like what you're watching, feel free to hit subscribe. Thank you very much. Oh God, my kid's awake. All right, everybody, just in time to finish the ad, but here we go. Everybody, thank you so much for coming in. I gotta wind down super quick now because, like I said, my son is awake and he waits for no man. Oh gosh, he's calling for me. All right, everybody, I love you so much. Thank you so much for coming in and hanging out today. You guys are fantastic. Bye. Have a good one.